Tens of thousands of football fans came to Highbury. Electrifying.
Yes, guys, welcome back to the Cannon Podcast on a very, very, very warm day. You'll have to excuse the vest to do another scouted episode, this time on Jorrel Hato of Ajax. George and I just did an hour looking at clips of Jorrel Hato on Y-Scout, looking through what do we do, his duels, his crosses, his accelerations, his best actions, loads and loads of stuff, having a look at him properly in detail for Ajax. If you want to go check that out, you can do so from the link in the description. You can also check out all the other episodes of Scouted, and we just added a new tier for patrons, which means you can start voting on who we do Scouted on as we move forward. So if you want to check that all out, you can do so. We've got loads and loads of episodes as always, but we're here to break down the player, talk about him a little bit, and I'm here to do so with my boy, my one, Mr. George V. You're a fan of Hato?
You could say that.
You can say that. Let me just give a little bit of background. I'm sure people know him, but obviously Hato, 19 years old, Ajax captain, which is pretty amazing. I think he's their second behind Gravenberch and Seedorf. He's the youngest ever player, certainly at the time to debut for Ajax, and made his debut in 2023. Senior for the Netherlands. Obviously a fantastic player, and I think has been sort of one of those been coming for a while type players. Talk to us about Hato. Thoughts on him overall as a man, as a player. Give it to me.
This guy is one of those true defenders. Everything that he does is with 100% commitment. I think that there is a lot of times that when you find defenders, they may be good at other things. You have your Calafioris, your Salibas, and we highlight the on-the-ball things. With Hato, you're going to immediately be kind of shocked with the competency that he shows off the ball, the speed to which he gets to his marker, and the ability for him to put himself between the man and the ball so consistently is going to strike comparisons to Yuri and Timber in terms of the commitment, the speed, and the consistency to which he wins those duels. There is a level of him being able to nick in front of people because he uses his body in a very smart way where, yes, it's aggressive to hit you, but there is composure in the duel where I don't think he overcommits too often. This is a guy that I think has a brilliant controlled aggression. And for as much as I love the Yuri and Timber comparisons, I'm really always going to look at Nathan Ake in terms of what I love about his defending style. It is quite controlled in how he deals with markers. I think this is a guy that in general, if you look at clips, you're going to have it with the caveat about what kind of a season Ajax have had, because from a technical level, this is a guy that is incredibly technical, has the ability to control some build-up and kind of come in on the inside. But this is a guy with incredible power over both short and long distances, doesn't loosen up, has the ability to make some excellent repeat sprints. And I think as far as his carrying capacity, does have a tendency to overrun his touch in the final action for sure. Has a tendency with some of his passes to basically chip them centrally, but his long passing accuracy, the switches from left to right are targeted. They're very well done. And he is going to pop up with some really important goals because from a mentality point of view, this is a guy that in fact does too much. In fact, that puts too much responsibility onto his backing, and it can lead to some looseness in his actions. But from a pure technical point of view, you're going to see Jorrel Hato be able to take Freudian slip. He's very different, though. This is actually important. I'm glad I did that. Very different to Timber because I don't believe he has the same final third. If you think that they're comparable in that sense, that's not true. He's got a standing half space cross to him. He's got an ability to run on the outside, and he's got an ability to play intricately with you and find the pass on the inside and finish chances. You're going to see him in clips. Guys literally come in, arrive, roll his foot on the ball, feint and shimmy, and find a free man. It's not something that's common. And, but he does have a tendency to potentially in the final third, you're going to notice that there's some more blocked crosses. There is going to be a little bit more of tightening up that we'd like to see in terms of some of those final actions. But again, 19 years of age to be pretty much the world's oyster at left back in terms of what you want to be. You want to be a left overlapping left back, an inverted left back, somebody that can dictate from midfield. There's one clip where he receives it at the top of the halfway line and just does give and goes until he finishes the chance in the box, arriving on the right-hand side. And you're thinking to yourself, this wasn't a youth match. This is a league game. And you're just thinking,
why
Champions
League or Europa League? Yeah.
It was. And you're thinking, why are you doing that? Why? Like, it's incredible. So yes, I like the player, won't hide that. A lot still to work on, raw in certain aspects, but this is a guy that I think you can mold to be pretty much anything that you want.
Yeah. Quick correction, apologies because a little slip earlier. He is vice captain, has captained Ajax because Jordan Henderson is the captain, so apologies for that earlier. Yeah, look, I think, as you say, maybe just a couple of things to add on, things that I sort of picked up on. I think he can be a little bit loose with his clearances. There was a couple of times we've just seen just hoofing it. It could be an instruction, I don't know. I still have a bee in my bonnet about this sort of slight, if you get touch economy, it's almost like physical lack of economy, I guess would be my maybe way of putting it. It feels like he's doing a little bit too much sometimes, and we sort of spoke about that, maybe overrunning things or whatever, but that can all be tightened up, because I think when we said at the top of the Scouted, right, like there are certain talents that he can just do everything. We watched the Best Actions playlist, and he's literally he's got a whip cross, he's got a ball over the top, he's got a finish, he's got a number 9 finish, he's got a finish from the top of the box, he can 1v1, like every just check, he's got everything. At the age he has, he really, really could be anything, and it's a really exciting talent. And we're going to have the conversation about feasibility and all these sorts of things, but there are talents, and Hato, as I said on the Scout, because of some of the issues that I do think can be worked on, I don't go, you are there now. He's not this. That's not Yamal. Like you're the finished product today, pretty much. But he's at some point. There are talents like him. You say in a couple of years, let's stop talking about feasibility. Just get him in, because that's the talent level we're looking at, and I'm not surprised we have been looking at him for a while. There's been. Let's just come on to the data a little bit, just to get a little bit more about him. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any data from this season. Ajax, as George sort of briefly mentioned, had I think finished 5th in 23-24, and then they were like 9 points clear, and then completely blew the title this season, I think, in the Eredivisie. But you can see here in terms of the influence and the quality he has, and at this point he's 17 years of age, 23-24 here. You can see the influence he's having, especially in the final third, as George was sort of alluding to, and the differences with Drury and Timber. In terms of the sort of, let's just sort of paint this picture, George, of, because I do want to go back to this sort of this comparison thing. I think it's quite useful for Hato before we move on to the sort of the feasibility, etc. Where is Timber in this? Where's Ben White in this? Where's Virgil in this? Where's Nathan Ake in this? Can we sort of paint that picture here? Because I think it's a good comparison, some of those.
So I think that the Virgil van Dijk is a little bit something I don't 100% agree with, because Jorrel Hato is a lot more of the type to bring the challenge to you. Virgil van Dijk's kind of one of those people that the duel comes to him and he's like a black hole of confidence in terms of him being able to swallow it. Like Jorrel Hato, he doesn't wait for the duel to come to him. He's bringing the thunder. He is coming to you to steal the ball, and he's loud about it. He's not quiet. And so there is a little bit more Timber in that defending aspect. And you can really see why there's that mentorship and idolization there, because the anticipation, the quickness to a marker is truly there. I do think he has a little bit of the Nathan Ake composure, absolutely, because I think once he arrives there, whilst it's aggressive, he's not overly aggressive. He's not turned the dial in which he's completely gone with his head. He's not Romero. There is a controlled aggression to Christian Romero, sorry. He's not like that. So he is definitely composed in the duel. But then there's the whole Ben White aspect of this. And this is what makes me so excited, because it's tough to pin him down on a comparison, because amongst all of these players, Ake, Ben White, even, there is a bit of final third execution that they just don't have, and Hato does. Hato has this incredible technique. Yeah, you can. Like, it's a really weird thing that you don't associate with a left back, and his composure in the final third is quite incredible. So I think when I first started watching him, I really saw comparisons to Marcelo at Real Madrid in terms of what I could see with you technically. Now, I think Marcelo is on a complete superstar level in terms of this. But the ideas and his ability on the overlap and the underlap, the ability to basically be a master technician in general, is something that you're going to associate with a Hato.
Yeah, look, this is clearly an incredibly talented player and a player to be moulded as well. Hato's the the youngest player to reach 100 appearances for Ajax. He's the passing accuracy is right up there. I think if you go through sort of the Ajax records at youth level, he's right up there. This is clearly a player who is going somewhere. The question is, okay, we like him. We like what he does, all that sort of stuff. Why is he right for Arsenal, and why now? And I think I sort of have two answers there. One is we've been looking for this sort of left back profile who can come in and be this overlapper that we're always talking about, whether that's for Rodrigo. But to be honest, even if we stick with Martinelli, I think that would make sense to some degree to help Martinelli out. And I think you're right to break down that running power. He absolutely has that. He can be molded that way. I think that's a really important part. And one of my maybe reservations going into this, and I do see that in the clips. But secondly, George, because we speak on a day where Thomas Partey's future is certainly up in the air. And people may say, another left back or another sort of left centre backy, dually type guy. Well, in terms of true defenders at the club, people who love the defending first, I think we've got Gabriel and Timber, and we could probably do with one more. Is Calafiori fitness wise? I think there's still something in the air there. Kivior might go, Zinchenko might go. With the space that's now being opened up in the midfield, there's something for Miles to step into there. It feels like a gap is opening up, and especially for someone at this age, at 19 years of age with stuff to work on, but with experience, who maybe won't expect to play every single minute. This begins, and when you look at the feasibility, Fabrizio Romano was reporting that Arsenal were in for, or certainly looking at him last summer. He's reported again that we're in for him and looking at him. I think Chelsea are also in. Simon Collins, you can look around. There's some really reliable reports. I think, David, I could be wrong, so please don't quote me on this, but I think David Ornstein's mentioned him as well, or certainly, he's on the list somewhere. What do you think about this from a feasibility perspective? Having watched him, mate, it makes a bit more sense to me than it did maybe a couple of hours ago.
And I think that it makes sense because you've seen him in a role that is definitely different this season. Like the season before, he was a lot more left center back in terms of some of the roles that he was going to play. He's definitely been played as a more traditional fullback currently, and you see the benefits of that. I made this point on the Scouted, and I think I'll make it again here. The left-hand side has a lot of potential mavericks in general. You're looking at Calafiori. You're looking at Miles Lewis-Skelly. You're looking at potentially the rumored Rodrigo. There's a lot of potential mavericks there. And it would be nice to add another calming, defensively minded, concerned player down that side as a balancing act, especially in further squad building senses. I think that this is a guy for me that I don't pin as an inverted left back. I don't pin as anything more because the world is his oyster. He really is a clay that you can mold to what you would like. And if you want him to do more Ben White things, he can. If you want him to come into midfield and dictate from midfield, he can. But there is a level of dueling competency and trust that, I don't know, mate, like you can go down and say, Mohamed Salah, can you throw a lockdown job in Anfield and throw on Hato? Yes, I'm very, very confident. And down the line in 3-4 years, when Calafiori is potentially moving to left center back and he's on his marauding runs, in which, by the way, he's such a brilliant on the ball player. You look at the game through him in that sense. You need a bit of somebody who wants to hang back and just defend and be a true defender in that sense. And to pair him with something like that, he needs a Hato next to him, or he needs Miles to not be a maverick and stick back. You're going to need somebody. So I just see a lot of potential freeing farther up the pitch. I even see Miles having a lot more freedom potentially in midfield, knowing that he's got a presence behind him that can have the dual part covered. And there's just a lot to like for a player that I think has pretty much 8 to 9 out of 10 on most skills. And what we're talking about are fine-tuning these edges to become the player that you'd like him to be, as opposed to any major faults. And I love the mentality. For as much as we've talked about this, guys, he's 19. He's 19 doing this right now. It doesn't matter what Ajax are like, as a team right now. To be able to accrue the amount of appearances that he's been able to do, and to kind of perform to the level that he's been able to perform so young, it is unnatural. It isn't normal. And I think that he's a really important character to have into the dressing room as far as his focus, his commitment. And, it'd be nice to have back-to-back Ajax recruitments. I mean, we're looking at Setford Timber, potentially Hato. There's a burgeoning relationship there that is makes sense culturally as well. So there's a lot of ticks for me.
Yeah, I think so. Multi-club model, Ajax, we will be there. Certainly scouted to check out. I think this is a really interesting player. Probably not what you'd expect as well, I would say, if you're anything like me anyway. So yeah, really interesting one. Go check that out. Thank you all for watching. Really appreciate you being here on the Cannon Podcast. If it's your first time here, make sure you like and subscribe. We've got loads of other episodes of Scouted. We've done so many at this point. We mentioned this also on the Scouted, but we actually polled our directors, and the directors chose Jorrel Hato. So if you want to be sort of involved in the decision making in terms of who we actually scout, you can do so by becoming a director on Patreon. So or as a YouTube member. So if you choose to do that, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. If not, we love you regardless. Speaking of love, thank you, George.
Thank you, good sir.
And thank you so much for watching. And thanks for keeping it Arsenal.
Tens of thousands of football fans came to Highbury. This was one kind of queue the ladies thoroughly enjoyed.
Electrifying. Inspiration.